afternoon, YouTube. This is Daly's Customs here. Last video I've done on this bike, going over the essential modifications in the 800-mile review. Got some good feedback, so I figured I'd do a part 2 to this series since I've done some more modifications to the bike since that video. Since the 800-mile video, I've put 1,500 miles on this bike, and I've deemed necessary to start going ahead and doing some armor mods on this bike to make it survive an event of a crash or a layover or hitting a tree or rocks, debris on the trail and whatnot, since I'm primarily going to be using this bike to ride on the street and off-road. So in order to protect this bike, there's 3 main modifications you should be looking at doing on yours that I would recommend to protect your investment and to further the life of your motorcycle. So the first thing I did was install these Zeta Pro Handguards. These handguards here are what look to be the best option for this particular model. I've run a lot of different other models on my previous bikes I've owned. Used to run the Tusk D-Flex Pros on all of my bikes, but for this one I went the Zeta route because I particularly liked how it came with an option to mount directly to the triple tree instead of back to the bar like a lot of models do. That just gives you more room on the bars to kind of put whatever other accessories you would like to put on the bars. Since this is a dual sport, you're going to be riding it on the street and off-road, so it's nice to have the option to have more space in the cockpit area, if you will. So I went with these. They're good-looking handguards, in my opinion, as you can see. They come in a lot of different colors. You can get the bars in different colors. I chose black. They might, like any other bark busters would, into the bar end and over straight into the triple tree with a few additional screw holes for fitment. And at the same time, when I installed these handguards, I also opted for the Pro Taper CR High Bend fat bar along with the Pro Taper bar mounts. So these bars are just going to be stronger opposed to the 7/8 bars that come factory, come stock on these bikes. So whenever you do eventually lay it over, it's not an if, it's when, your bars will have a higher resistance to bending when they touch the ground. So that paired with the Zetas is going to make a really strong bar, strong hand guard area for your motorcycle. Protect those clutch levers, protect that brake lever. You're not going to be breaking your controls whenever you lay it over. So that's a really good modification from Zeta. The thing I did after that was these Unibiker Radiator Guards. Now, there are a few other options out there for the 450Ls, and I've never really been a fan of Flatland Racing or Works Connection, just because they simply only provide one form of protection for the radiators. So that's either the face guard or the brace that actually goes back and bolts somewhere on the frame to brace the radiator in event of a rollover from a side impact, or if the face guard is just in place, it would only protect it from, like, let's say sticks, hard debris getting thrown off of the front tire, like rocks, gravel. So this radiator guard protects the your radiators in 3 different ways. So it has this face shield here, very stout, and it's also pretty aesthetic. It's good to look at. It also has these brace bars. I don't know if you can see them in there really well, but they're installed on either side of the faceplate, so it just further braces the brace. And it also has this side brace here that comes back, and it also has another structural brace. So It's going to protect this fan really well because it just braces it in. It's not going to let your radiator crumple. It's going to be really strong now. It's going to protect that really expensive radiator. It was a really easy fitment. Unibiker is a company I've always gone with for skid plates and radiator guards. I've run another set on my previous bike, my YZ250FX, and it was a phenomenal product. It really held up great. Bike over lots of times on the track and on the trail, and those radiator guards never allowed my radiators to damage whatsoever. So these are the best on the market, I'm convinced, from experience, that you can purchase and put on your motorcycle. Highly recommend these by Unibiker. And the next thing I did was the Axp Skid Plate. It's a good looking skid plate. I purchased this particular model by Axp because I liked how, instead of using aluminum like some companies do, they use a really thick, strong composite material. It may be plastic, I'm not really sure what it's made of, but it's very thick, and it has a little bit of give in it. So if you hit, a big rock or a stump or something, it's not going to damage your skid plate if that's any of your concern. It's kind of absorb some of the impact with the bends it has here on the side of the plate. Another thing I liked about Axp's skid plate was the linkage guard. Linkage guard goes all the way back and protects your lower area here where your suspension is going to be moving around. So if you are sliding over a log or you're sliding over a rock, it's going to protect your suspension and allow you to keep going. So I really like that. It's really thick in different areas. Here, and then there's one long bolt back here that would usually go back in for the stock skid plate in the rear, and then it also has these two, has this additional guard here to kind of space it out so your suspension is riding on it, but I can't hear anything on it whenever I'm riding. So it's very stout, very thick skid plate. I definitely recommend it for protecting your engine case. It's a good product. And that's pretty much it, honestly, for this video. Protection is very important for your motorcycle, for the longevity of your ride. If you want to keep this bike for a while, invest the money. It is expensive initially, but if you think about it in the long run, you're going to be breaking a lot less levers. You're going to be bending a lot less bars. You're going to be, not replacing your radiators. You're not going to be replacing an engine. So it's just lessening the chance of a catastrophic failure due to you putting a stick or a rock through one of those components, and protecting your oil filter over here located on this side of the engine, or your water pump over here on this side of the engine. So it's going to protect those very volatile, kind of exposed components of your drivetrain that are going to allow you to get home at the end of the ride. One more thing. I noticed a comment on one of my last videos that kind of opened my eyes a little bit. So all these parts I'm installing on my motorcycle are because, I see them fit. I'm not really telling you guys to do it. This is just purely my opinion on how I want to design my motorcycle for what I will be using it for and for my conditions and where I live. So for example, it was about the deleting of the thermostat. There's kind of a lot of controversy surrounding that. People are concerned if their engine's going to be damaged after installing this thermostat delete kit by San Diego Powerhouse or any of the other companies that make them. So from my experience of owning many motorcycles, being an experienced technician working on them, and also in the automotive and marine engine servicing that I do for my career, this thermostat that was on this bike I deemed unnecessary, just for my needs and for my climate that I ride and operate this motorcycle in. You do not need to do that. I simply did it because I was already deleting all of the emission stuff. I was going through and you know, putting an aftermarket pipe on, so I no longer needed that air injection module, which you see is there, is capped off, which is part of that thermostat. You don't need it, in my opinion. You know, if you want to keep it on the bike, keep it on the bike, but I don't need it because I no longer have that catalytic converter that's in the stock exhaust, which is the purpose of that air injection module, is to cool. It injects fresh air into your exhaust. It's going to backfire. That's why people are having those backfiring issues, or exhibiting that. So I deleted it because I simply deemed it not necessary. If you're uncomfortable, don't do it. You know, there's no reason to keep it or not keep it. It's just something I've done. And if you feel uncomfortable with that, or you don't agree with it, then don't do it to your motorcycle. Simple as that. This is my motorcycle. I paid for it with my money, and you know, I worked hard to earn the money to have this bike, and if I was concerned about the longevity of it or damaging it, then I wouldn't have installed it, if that makes any sense. So I mean, that's pretty much it. Wraps it up. 2021 450RL. It's been a great bike so far. I've been pretty much riding it to work every day when the weather permits, and it's been reliable. Haven't really had any issues with it. Temperature lights never come on due to the deleting of the thermostat. I let it run a little longer in the morning to let it warm up, just because it doesn't have that regulation there with the thermostat. 1,500 miles so far. About to come up on the third oil change, and everything's looking great. So I'll keep y'all tuned, and let me know if you want to see more videos like this on the channel. I'll be sure to be more adamant on posting them. I'm going to be making a lot of modifications and using this bike a lot for a lot of different things. So just let me know if you guys are interested in seeing more on this bike in this build. Again, on the tires, on 1,500 miles, this is what they're at. The Tusk D Sports. They're wearing pretty great. There's no chunking. There's no abnormal wear on them for being primarily, honestly, on the street. I haven't taken this bike on the trails as much as I would have liked to, but this is primarily street wear. So if you compare it to, let's say, that knobby there, and then this knob here, it's probably around anywhere between 55 and 60% tread on the rear. The front's wearing well as well. There's not really much wear to be noted there. It's slightly wearing. You can kind of see it ramping off, if you will, but not bad for a set of tires I got for $100. And they're still riding great on the street at high speeds, so I recommend them still for how they're wearing. All right, guys, that sums up the video. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me know if you want to see more like this. And yeah, y'all take it easy and ride safe.